Hello, good afternoon. Gary Edward Geddle, psychologist, psychotherapist here on my terrace in Lausanne. It's Saturday, the 21st of June, 2025. And it is, what time is it? It is 3:40. Why am I doing this at 3:40? I'm doing this at 3:40 because I expect people to be coming at some point between 4 and 5. There's a birthday, and I'm supposed to be welcoming the parents. I don't know if anybody come. I spent over a week working like a lunatic to make this place appropriate and welcoming, and get food and all sorts of things. And I don't know if anybody will come. And that's really the theme of today. Throwing in the towel is letting go, is accepting that sometimes something's not going to work. And I really, really, really wanted to continue to do these YouTube live at the same time every week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 8:30 p.m. CEST, and on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. CEST. 16:30 for those Europeans, and I really wanted to do that. It's really important for me. It's part of what I've promised, and my ego is based on that. And it's rubbish, and that is the problem. The problem is that often we get ourselves blocked with wanting or needing to do something, and to make things really important that are not important. And this idea of throwing in the towel is to be able to ascertain and to accept that sometimes some things we cannot do either the way we want to, when we want to, or even at all. And this discussion today is to help you to see that sometimes you just have to let go. You just have to say, for now, it's not possible. Maybe it'll never be possible. Maybe it was a wrong choice. Maybe you've invested in something that's the wrong thing. And if you have been sort of following my story over the last weeks, Friday night I was not well at all. I wasn't on YouTube Friday night, but last week, I was telling people that I was at close to a burnout, and I'll do the best I can, and I don't know what I'll able to do. And I've been thinking about that and talking about that all week, because any sort of theme that's also a theme for me about an emotional, psychological, practical problem, sometimes it's appropriate to show with my patients, because they're in similar kinds of situations, and it's good for them to see that I also can end up in those same sort of problems, in the same sort of situation. And so what the image that I gave was quite simply is that up until end of last week, I had lots and lots to do. I was working 12-hour days. I was starting to work at 9 o'clock in the morning. I worked through till 6 with or without breaks, it depends. I'd go run over to the gym, do an hour's gym, come back at 7, and then do some work on the YouTube presentation, and then 8 till 9 I would do YouTube live, and that would be a 12-hour day, and I was doing it most days a week. And what was great was that I had the resources to do it. It was just. It was a stress, it was a strain, it was an effort. And then what happened? What happened was that I had problems at work that were not linked to me, but as I'm responsible for our clinic, or at least my part of the clinic, is that started to become a stress. And then there's this birthday that I'm prepared for, and that increased the stress. And look at the gap. The gap was impossible. And so I needed to find a way. I couldn't increase my resources. So what I did was I thought, what are the things here that I could to remove? What could I take out? What could I do to reduce this mass or this weight? What could I do? And what I could do was, that's my watch telling me I need to prepare for the YouTube live in 15 minutes. Well, it's not happening the same way. So what I did was I had a look on my list of things that I had planned to do, that I wanted to do, that I needed to do. And I thought, okay, what are the priorities? My family is well looked after, and there's no problems with them for the moment, so that's great. And a lot to do with birthday. That's my wife that sees to all that. So what is the important things are my priorities? The most important thing are my patients. That's really the most important thing. That's the thing I keep the highest priority. After that, it's the clinic itself, looking after the psychologists and making sure that they're functional and they're okay, and the bills are paid, and their patients are looked after. That's the second one. And then the third one, what was this? No, the third one was the birthday. Got it right. The one was the birthday, which I have sorted out, everything that's possible. And the fourth is this, which is why I wasn't sure if I could continue to do what I promised to do. And the truth of the matter, because of the idea that I'm going to welcome some parents between 4 and 5, means that I can't do YouTube between 4 and 5. So I have given up even the timing that I plan to give up to do. And excuse me. This is the wonderful thing about YouTube Live. There's no editing. Good. And so the theme that I was using for my patients was bend, don't break. Because it's really important that, if you start to go like that and you hold tight, eventually it'll break. And that is not good. What we need to do is we need to bend it. We need to release the pressure, release the tension. And to do that, we need to release things. And I was reminding myself when I was doing the French version. I've just done the French version, as I usually do, half an hour in French and half an hour in English. And I was telling the story about a young guy that I was following. I followed for quite a long time, actually. I first followed him because he had a severe depression, which he'd had for 10 years, which was quite a challenge. And we sorted out his depression, which was wonderful. And one of his resources was the triathlon. He was depressed, but he still managed to do a lot of sport. His studies became more and more problematical, and anyway, by the end, we sorted out his depression. He got some extra time to finish his studies. He finished his high school. He got his high school diploma. A levels, whatever you want to call it, in whatever country you are. In Switzerland, is the baccalaureate, and that was great. And we said goodbye, and he went off and continued the end of his excuse me, the end of his studies. I didn't see him for a couple of years, and then he came back and said, "Say, can I see you again for a bit of time?" I'm sorry about myself. And I said, "Well, what's wrong?" He said, "Well, I've invested a lot in the sport, in the triathlon." I said, "Yes." And so how's that going? He says, "It's going great. It's really going great. I've got a sponsor. I've got an excellent coach. And that's really great." I said, "Well, what's your problem then?" He says, "The problem is the studies." I said, "What do you mean the studies? I thought you were doing triathlon." He says, "Yes, but I had a lot of pressure from my family and from other people that I should also study a profession." So that if something happens with the sport, if it doesn't go very far, or I get hurt or get damaged or something happens, I'd have a profession to fall back on, which I understand and I'm capable to do. And I said, "But," because there has to be a but, because come to see me. He says, "I'm not managing to do it all. And I'm not managing to train properly, and I'm not managing to do my studies properly, and I don't know what to do." And I said, "Well, okay, well, let's just look at this." I said, "What do you really, really, really want to do?" He said, "Well, it's obvious. I want to do sport. It's the main thing in my life." I said, "Well, okay, so so what is your fear? Like, what keeps telling me that I should do something?" And I said, "Okay, so if you do the sport, you drop university. What's the danger?" This is, "Well, I'll never finish university, and then if something happens with the sport, I won't have a profession." So I said, "Well, what would stop you at some point in the future to start university again. He said, well, yeah, we not have you done any studies for years and years and years, and I'm getting much older. I could be 35. I could be old. So I looked at him, and I love telling this story. I looked at him and I said, look, at what age do you think I started psychology? He says, I've got no idea. He said, I came to Switzerland at 38 years old. I didn't even speak French properly. And I started my bachelor's, what was called a licence at the time, 4 years it was. I said, at 38 years old. And my last real studies was my first degree, which I finished when I was 22. So that was 16 years without any serious study. And I still succeeded it. You're very intelligent. He was very intelligent. Says you're very intelligent. You caught up. You're back. No worries. You sort of caught up like 2 years in 1 year, and you still had a good marks at the end. I say, why can't you start again university at some point in the future? You go to the dean and you ask them if you could withdraw without fault. And you say you need to do your sport, and can you just withdraw? And if at some point go back, and if necessary, you could finish your studies. Said, do you think that's possible, Mr. Gad? I said, well, why don't you try it and find out? So he came back, I think it was about 2 weeks later, because I wasn't seeing him every week. He wasn't that bad. And he said, it's all sorted, Mr. Gad. I think I'm going to finish now. And I said, did you manage to get a pause at university? He says, yeah, there was no problem. He was very pleased that I'd come to him. He said it was such a shame that I was not doing well. He knew how invested it was, and he knew about me being a triathlon athlete, because I'm one of the athletes for Switzerland, and he follows that. And my coach was very pleased, because my coach was about to drop me if I didn't do something about it. And I explained to my parents that I could always come back, and the dean said I could always come back and complete my studies, and they've sort of let me release. And that's it. You see, he let go of one of the two great weights that was holding him down, because he just could not carry both of them. I actually once had someone that had two girlfriends. It was a bit the same story. And he had two girlfriends. He said, look, I've had these two girlfriends, and I keep flipping between one and the other, and I sort of hide one from the other. It's a bit complicated, and I don't know what to do, Mr. Gadot. I sort of like both of them, but I can't, I don't know what to do. I said, look, I'll help you. I said, let's flip a coin. He says, you can't do that. Can't flip a coin to know which girl I'm going to get involved in, maybe marry, maybe have kids. I said, trust me. I said, trust me. So I said, look, heads, it's this girl. Tails, it's the other girl. I flip the coin, and when I tell you what it's landed on, be very, very, very aware of your reaction. So flip the coin, dropped it. I think it was heads. I can't promise. I think it was the blonde. It was a blonde or a brunette. So I flipped the coin. I said, it's the blonde. And he went, oh. I said, that is a sign that you're pleased with the answer. Because you went, oh, not, oh. I said, yes. Did you feel a bit lighter when it fell to that? He said, actually, yes. I said, but what was it about? He said, well, actually, now I think about it, I feel it was sort of obliged for the other one, because I'm scared to let her drop and this and that. I said, okay, so we've helped you make the decision by not actually making the decision, by actually forcing you to be aware. It keeps doing this. It's going to stop at some point. I think maybe at 4 o'clock. I have no idea. You've become aware of what was most important for you and which one you could let drop. However, what I would very much suggest you do is you are totally honest with the other. You're totally honest and say, look, Um, I've been, I mean, she's going to hate you for it, but you need to tell her totally honest and say you've started a relationship with another girl before you're with her. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's a good way to sort of pass it. And you've not totally let her drop, and she's sort of come back into your life, and you feel that she's the one that you should be with. But please, if the other one, if you need anything, if I can help you, I know you might hate me for a while, but if I can be of any help or any support, I still think you're a great human being. That's why I've sort of not wanted to just drop like this, and now I feel I really have to make a decision. And please, please, be angry with me as long as you want. But if you ever need me for anything, as a friend, as a support, I will be there for you because I really do care about you, and I'm really sorry to hurt you. And he did. He did. It took him a while. We did another 2 or 3 sessions before he actually got there. And he got there and he let her drop. He let her drop as softly as he could. He took her for a meal, and he said, "Look, I'm really sorry. This is a Dear John letter." And it didn't go too badly. And actually, what happened was a number of years later, the girl that he chose, she fell in love with someone else. Yeah, after all that, she fell in love with someone else. And the first girl was still available, and she accepted to take him back. So sometimes, if you're careful about letting drop something, you can pick it up later. And in my experience with her, I talk a lot about my successes, how I've succeeded to do the most improbable things, and everything's worked out great. But it's not totally true. I've had a lot of different things in my life that have not worked out, that have not been the way that maybe I would wish for, or I've just not been able to succeed things that I planned to do, and I've had to let them drop. And it is part of the lesson in life, is that sometimes things just are not the right moment and things like that. I'm in the middle of writing a series of books. I've written 7 books in this series. It's called The Island of Serenity. It's a wonderful series. If you ever want to see it, read a wonderful fantasy series, but based on human nature and linked to the chakras, and it's spiritual and it's an adventure and sometimes humorous. It's me. I've written 7 books in the series so far, and then I stopped writing them, and I have another 6 more or less to write to finish the series. I just stopped. I stopped. I thought people are not buying them, and there's other things I should be doing. And I started writing the Living in Harmony with the Real World series, and so that was the movement that I made. I couldn't do everything, of course, and so I wrote 2 of those. I started writing a third, which was about archetypes. And I started writing that, and I found I had too many archetypes. I didn't know what to do with them, and I just got exhausted because I had this mass of different images and things, the descriptions to write, and I just it was too much for me, and I just let it drop. I let it drop and said, I just can't do it at the moment. So not only did I let drop the Serenity series, which I already written 7 of, but I was on the 3rd of the Living in Harmony series, and I let that drop. I just couldn't see how to go forward with it. And then the COVID arrived, and then I got very inspired to write a book on grief and loss and grief. Loss and grief, that's the order of it, loss and grief. And so I focused on that. That happened. That was fine. And then a few months later, or a year later, I realized how to write what was the 3rd book, and that became the 4th book, how to limit the number of archetypes, number of images, number of descriptions. And it just happened. And it happened actually quite quickly because I'd already started quite a lot of it. So by letting it drop, I was able to do other things. And then when it was its time, and when I knew how to do it, I took it back up, and I've completed that. So now I have 4 books in the series of Living in Harmony. And with this 70-day challenge, the next thing that I feel I need to do is to write some books on that. I need to write a journal book which is just something to write down what you're doing every day, but with pictures and quotations and a little bit of a story of something that I've already written that already exists. So those are going to be the next things that I'm going to do, at least the journal. There's a theory book that I think I should write, but I'm not as motivated, but we'll see what happens. But after that, I have decided that after 5 years of not writing anything, I'm going to go back and start carrying on with the Island of Serenity series. So if you start reading it, if you get past the seventh one, hopefully there'll be an eighth and a ninth that'll be appearing relatively soon, like in the next year or so. So you understand the idea to let things go, to let things drop. If you don't have the resources in the moment. Oh, I've got another thing that I had to drop because I couldn't get forward it. I have a project to write some children's stories using my Peter the Pixie character that was also to do with the archetypes, but now the archetypes for children. And so I decided I'd do another 32 stories of archetypes for children to help them understand how they function, what their coping strategies are, how their coping strategies are not working, and how they can improve their coping strategies. So it's a really powerful idea. It's an excellent idea, and it would be great to go forward with that. And I've written the introduction, and I've written the first of the 32 stories. And I just can't sort of get into it. It just seems to be too difficult at the moment, and I'm not inspired enough to find the ideas for these 32 stories, because they're based very much on an archetype, a coping strategy for each one. And somehow or other, my energy is not there. Energy, as you see, is on YouTube Live. I make thumbnails for them. I really enjoy creating the images and finding things to talk about. So there is another project that I've started, and it's gone into a corner. Now, will I ever feel the motivation and the resources to go back and to pick up that project, which is a beautiful project? It's really a very important project that, although I don't follow children, it's not my population, but I think it would be something that would be really helpful and really useful, and I'm sure other people could benefit from it, and a lot of children could benefit from using that tool and those stories. But for the moment, I don't have it. For the moment, I don't have the resources for that. And the story of today, throwing in the towel, is saying this thing for now I cannot be doing. It's so simple. It could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be anything to do with your life. It could be a project that you started and you're really invested in and you really want to continue, and you suddenly find that you've run out of resources, time, energy, creativity, support system, the right strategy. It's like, it doesn't matter. We can all find ourselves in situations at any time that some or all of the projects that we plan to do, that we've started, that we're invested in, or we have future projects that are just not going to happen at this time. And to be mature enough, to be mature, find another word for it. It's YouTube Live, I can't edit it out. So to be capable to say, okay, some things I will need to drop for the moment, or drop completely, because it's just not going to happen now. And if you imagine a juggler who's juggling a number of balls, and that's fine, and then you find out that you're not juggling balls, you're juggling eggs. Okay, the juggler, okay, they're just juggling objects. And then you keep adding more and more and more. At some point, it will lose concentration. There's got to be a maximum. There's got to be beyond which you can't go. And if you lose concentration and you're juggling eggs, all you get are omelets, because the eggs, they're going to smash. You're going to, and we find We find quite often in our practice, and also obviously in the psychiatric hospital, people that are broken. They're broken all over their psyches because they've been trying to do too much for too long. And instead of bending, they have broken. And that is the danger. The young man that couldn't do studies and do his sport, he was aware, he was feeling that he was about to break. And I helped him find the solution to bend. And he's been very successful over the last years. So I'm very proud of him, not proud of me, because all I did was really clearly help him see the options that he had. And he just needed, if you like, permission to let go of the studies and invest in his sport for the moment. It was just a permission thing. So sometimes we need to give ourselves permission. Sometimes we need to say, it's okay. For me, my plan to do this YouTube live until the end of the 70-day challenge, and on Saturday, between 4 and 5 every single week, without fail, without fault. This is, I'm early. I'm half an hour, three-quarters of an hour early. And I just had to let go. I chose to have a compromise, and that's also an interesting thing to think about. Sometimes you don't have to let something go totally. You just have to be more flexible, same sort of image, more flexible how you do things. This is the second time that I have done a YouTube, not at the time that it's planned. But so far, I have succeeded every day that I plan to do a YouTube to do one. So that's really not bad. And hopefully I will get, at least to the end of next week, I think the week after, I will just not do a YouTube and we'll give it up the last week because my life is fairly complicated next week, much more complicated than I planned. And there's a lot of things happening at the time I'm supposed to do a YouTube live. So not next week, the week after. So it's possible that I won't be doing that. But I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I'm okay that my 70-day challenge, which was a lot of dieting and going to the fitness most days a week, that's not happening either. My diet has been more flexible. So I'm allowing myself to eat more because I've been under so much stress, and dieting is very stressful, especially fasting, which has been my Monday habit for months and months and months to fast, which means a water fast, not anything from Sunday till Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. And for the moment, that's not happening. But maybe tomorrow, maybe I won't fast because I'm still under a certain amount of pressure. But maybe next Monday, if everything is well, I will fast again. Because to stop doing something, to give up something, doesn't mean to give it up forever. And it doesn't mean to give it up 100%. So I've given up doing YouTube Live at 4:30 this afternoon for you in English. I'm doing it now before. I gave up fasting on a Monday. I didn't fast last Monday. I'm not going to fast tomorrow, but maybe I'll fast the week after. So a certain flexibility, a certain openness, but you need to be able to say, my ego is not the most important thing. I need the first thing that we can let go is often the things that are linked to our ego. Some things are important, some things are priority. We need to stop and think, what is my priority? What is important? What do I want to keep doing because it makes me feel good about myself? And if I don't do it, I'll feel less good. But maybe you need to accept to feel less good about yourself because there are other things that if you try and do everything, you end up getting everything wrong, making a mess. Okay, so I think I'm pretty clear on that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. I'm happy to be able to have done this YouTube live, even though it's not the time that's planned, and hope people see it and find it useful. And tomorrow night, I'm going to do a guiding meditation on escaping from prison. Yes, escape from prison. That's the guided meditation hypnosis tomorrow evening, which I hope I'll be able to do. I think I will. And it's based on a hypnosis that I did for a patient on Friday. And while I was doing it, I thought, wow, this is a nice hypnosis. Oh, I'll do that on Sunday. So if you feel that you're a prisoner in your life, and then it's a very good thing to see me tomorrow night. So tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. CEST, Central European Summertime. Please like, share, um, subscribe, and have a great weekend. And I'll see you again. Bye for now.